So I've noticed this trend among parents today, mostly in their 50s, but I'm only saying that because I'm in my 50s, so it doesn't just apply to people in their 50s. Um, where dads of daughters are really pushing them to be high achievers, even more so than the moms. And the moms are sort of trying to navigate how to support their husbands, without undermining them, but also feeling a little bit differently about it because the mom is typically more aware of the softer, more um, relationship oriented side of life than the husband is. Husbands tend to be a lot more practical than wives. Men are more practical, I should say, as a rule, than women are, which I'm a very practical person. The women in my family are very practical, so I'm not saying women aren't practical. I'm just saying, as a rule, women err on the side of the more relationship or romantic side of life, and men are really honed in on money and security and the practicalities of life. So, understandably, they're concerned about their daughters' futures. And this is especially true since we live in a culture where men are really struggling and are not um, often as successful as the women are. And these dads are seeing that with their daughters and they're very concerned. But, and so I guess their answer to that is to push their daughters to make sure that they always have money in case they end up with someone who can't take care of them and so on and so forth. And so the motive is good, of course. The problem with it that they don't see, I think because they're men and they're not really thinking about this 360, and plus they're not a woman, so they're not seeing it from a woman's perspective, is that there is going to come a time in that woman's life, in their daughter's life, where breadwinning or earning is not going to take precedence in their life. And men don't understand that because they don't have that experience. Earning is always important to them. And so if you don't recognize that men and women are different in this way and raise your sons and daughters differently with respect to this biological difference, you're doing your daughters a disservice. Because what's going to happen is, because I'm the one who gets these women on the back end, or I don't know, maybe back end's not the right phrase. I'm getting them later when they were following this messaging that their parents taught them. And again, it comes from both mom and dad, but I'm honing in on the dads here for today, who taught them to excel and did not factor in, well, what happens when you're hit, around 30 years old and you have that nesting instinct that starts to take over and you want to step back and quote unquote depend on a man for X amount of years because you want to be home with your baby. That's a very, very real and extremely common scenario that if you haven't set your daughters up to choose a career that is flexible and that can be worked around what is ultimately going to become their focus in life, which for most women is marriage and family and raising the children that they give birth to, then you've done them a huge disservice. Just assume that this is going to happen and understand that they can't help it. It's biological. It's inevitable for most women. And that's why it's so important to encourage them to think about what kinds of careers can be worked around one's personal life, specifically raising children. And of course, the higher up you go on the ladder in the marketplace, the less likely you are to have that work out for you. So when you're pushing your daughters to excel, you're essentially pushing them into arenas that are not flexible, that will not have the ability to be done part-time or from home or step out altogether and move back into or whatever the case may be. So again, I don't think dads understand this fully, and if they did, they would do it differently. I don't think there's anything sinister here. I think it's just wanting to be practical and making sure your daughter can take care of herself financially should she need to, which I fully support. Everybody should have a skill. All people should be able to be self-sustaining should the need arise. But to dismiss the very real reality of what happens to women when they get into their 30s and pushing them towards these um, careers that have no flexibility is to do them a disservice. You're not helping them or supporting them as women or whatever your reasoning is for why you're doing it. Again, motives are good, I know, but you need to understand that it's not helpful. It's actually harmful. So this is sort of a quick message to fathers of daughters to understand that it's very important for your daughters to hear you supporting them in what you assume will eventually be their focus in life, and that you push them towards careers that are more flexible and can be done around family. So that invariably will leave out some very obvious careers that are just not um, conducive to that. And I know that probably feels uncomfortable because it's very countercultural to go that route, but that's why it's the right way. Because as you know, this channel is all about doing everything the opposite of the way the culture teaches, and that's how you win in life and in love. Do not follow what everyone else is doing. Um, I cannot stress it enough. I mean, that is the answer to happiness, doing things counterculturally.